And that's essentially what we're sinking our teeth into. We have with us Senator Emmanuel Bwacha, who is a deputy minority leader in the Senate and also representing the southern zone of Taraba State. Senator, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is not the first time we're seeing this particular incursion into Nigeria. Just a few weeks ago, there were reports that Ambazonian separatists had made their way. They had made an incursion into a village. I'm not sure if it's the same village where this incursion happened. We even spoke with the traditional ruler in our own report of it, and he says, "Oh, that usually when there is a criminal offense that has happened in a neighboring village, they usually have what they call that now. They usually have a meeting whereby if criminals are hiding in their village, there will be a liaison with the other village, and those people will be produced, especially if they were from the other country. But it would seem that this is not what has happened here. In this instance, the traditional ruler in Manga village has now been murdered alongside at least 5 other people, because the figures we're getting are a little disputed. Can you give us in clear detail the reports that got to you?
Well, at the time I made this submission on the floor on personal explanation, the figures were less than 10. Thereafter, a report reached me that the figure had plummeted to about 11 or 10 thereabout, including the traditional ruler. And like you said, it's not the first time we have been receiving report of such incursions or external aggression. As a matter of fact, this should be disturbing to any discerning mind in Nigeria, that a nation that is bordering Nigeria is seen to be constantly harassing our citizens. It's truly disturbing, it is worrisome, and calls for attention of those who are saddled with the responsibility of protecting our territorial integrity. It's very worrisome that Cameroon, that we are yet to forget the memories of secession of Bakassi, will go all out in communities outside of Bakassi and be doing this. I understand some of Nigerians that fall within the Cameroonian territory have common affinity with some of these communities, but that does not give them the right to come into Nigeria at will and even attack individuals or citizens of Nigeria.
So
it's a gross, yes.
First question I wanted to ask you about. What has been the relationship between the border communities, especially in that part? Do they have any historical background that used to maybe see them as enemies in the past, or have they always seen themselves as brothers and sisters?
Well, actually, in that region, this is the first time we're having this experience. The communities in the border areas have some historical antecedent. They share some common historical antecedent. The Yukuben community from that region, some of them are in Cameroon, by border division. So they fall into Cameroon. And we cannot for now say whether there's an existing feud, not to my knowledge as I speak, but I am aware that they speak the same language. They speak the same language. And I have it on authority also that they have common relationship with people from Calabar who are in the other side of Cameroon. As a matter of fact, I'm told the commander of the Ambazonian forces is from Calabar, probably from the Bakassi region that had been ceded to Cameroon, and that his deputy is from that region that was attacked, but on the other side of the divide. So you can see the complexities in all of this. And the most important thing is the dividing border, which makes it very, very important for us to watch, that you don't cross to the other side. Once you cross, you have crossed the red line. This is our worry. Yes.
It is indeed a worrisome situation. Just trying to provide context, for our viewers. I'm listening and I'm looking at this particular scenario. We have been able to establish that this is not just communities fighting amongst themselves.
No.
This is a case of soldiers. Some call them Ambazonian soldiers.
Yes.
Some call them separatists.
Yes.
You know, carrying out aggression against, you know, helpless and defenseless residents of a village in Nigeria.
Yes.
Have we been able to establish that fact very clearly?
Clearly is the Ambazonian rebels, or the separatists as they are called. Initially, when I got the information, I thought it was the Cameroonian gendarmes, until I was told that it's the Ambazonian separatist rebels.
What is the difference? So we know that, yes, some people are trying to, you know, get
Well,
away.
the difference is that the gendarmes are security officials, security forces, members of the Cameroonian security forces. But the Ambazonian rebels forces are not, they are rebels and forces against the government, agitating for a separate state outside the present-day Cameroon that we know. So they are not in tandem with the government of Cameroon. So what is not clear, are they looking for more territories to lay claim to, as I pointed out from the beginning, or is a case of economic interest, maybe attacking to gain more money, just as we have with Boko Haram and bandits attacking people to get money that will further their agitation. This is one area that we also need to look into. And when they came into this village, what they took with them is still unclear, because there are still some people missing. The number could rise as we are speaking now, because as at the time I got the report, it was said that 4 people. So, and no report of whether properties were carted away. So I think the security need to go into this, to leverage on available information and get into the root of this, so that we can be properly guided on what to do next.
It does make the matter a little more complex, because they're not official soldiers.
Yes.
They're not known security forces.
Yes.
They are rebels, as the case is. How do you think that the Nigerian state begins to address this? Because this is now a problem created in Cameroon, which is now also giving us problems here in Nigeria.
Yes.
How do we begin to navigate that?
That is where we will need to focus. First and foremost, the community where this happened is from Takum local government. It's a ward in Takum local government that houses the 23 battalion of the Nigerian Army. Now, the spillover effect we're having of these rebellious activities in Cameroon is because of our proximity with this area. Probably they will want to see their kith and kinsmen from here join them. We don't know. These are all subject of guesses, speculations. Now, what the Nigerian Army or the security officials need to do now is to actually move closer to the scene of this accident and continue to monitor closely. Otherwise, they might not know exactly what is their motive, because this is the beginning. We don't hope it repeats itself. The locals are also interested in mobilizing. The worrisome aspect of it is our security forces are overstretched by internal wranglings, challenges here and there. So I pray that the authority, Nigerian government, for example, will embark on massive recruitment of security personnel to meet up the challenges of the day. Otherwise, the situation is getting out of hand. You know, the locals are looking at taking their defense upon themselves, taking their destiny on their hands, maybe mobilizing local vigilantes to go after these people. And of course, 2 wrongs cannot make a right. We would have preferred that the security will take it up frontally and address this matter as it grows, so that they can nip it on the bud.
It certainly is a very complex issue, because, I mean, I'm just trying to imagine a situation where perhaps, you know, the citizens were to take laws into their hands and, you know, also make an incursion into Cameroon I'm sure that, you know, the Cameroonian authorities will certainly have something to say on that. However, if those people are also a problem to the Cameroonian state, it then makes the issue a little more complex.
Quite difficult, because, like I said, if they were the Cameroonian gendarmes, we know that we're reporting directly to the Cameroonian authorities. But these are people that are out of their control. They're not within the control of the Cameroonian government. They themselves have become a hog, you know, in the affairs of the Cameroonian government. So how do we deal with it?
In your place, in Taraba, where you come from, you know, which shares borders with Cameroon, how is the border delineated? I mean, do you have any clear markings that show that this is Nigerian territory and this is Cameroonian territory?
Well, as against what we see in other climes, here you know that this is where there is a boundary between your country and the other country. And the unfortunate thing is most of these areas are not properly manned by Nigerian immigration officials. If you go to that particular community, I'm not sure you'll find our immigration officials there. That is what makes it different from what we see in other places. In some other places, we see even walls that are erected to separate this country from the other side, especially in the flashpoints where there are troubleshooting elements, like what we are having now in this particular area. So you know it by history. You know that the person settling the other side. We have these cases in Abong area of Kurumi. We have it in the Mambila Plateau, you know, and through a movie in Adamawa State, largely the trust territories that voted in the plebiscite of 1961. So it's the same matter, just as we're having in Bakassi. Some part ceded to Cameroon, and some, unlike what happened in 1961, these ones choose to be here. But in Bakassi, they become Cameroonians by fiat of the judgment of, you know, the international court.
It is interesting. And I ask that because we know just how problematic our borders have been. We've talked about porous borders. We've talked about not enough people to man the borders. There are solutions that have been suggested every now and again, you know, but nothing concrete. I don't think that we have any serious concrete steps that have been taken in that direction. In the case where we have villages, you know, really, really close to borders, one would think that by now perhaps we will start thinking of new solutions, especially now that these villages seem to be vulnerable to attacks from either, in some instances, they're even gendarmes, but in this particular instance, they're Ambazonian rebels.
Yes.
Perhaps we'll start thinking of new solutions for those villages that are will I say, even on the borderline.
Yes.
You know, the borders are right within their communities. And I was just wondering what the situation was in the communities that you know, especially in Taraba.
You see, this kind of provocation may ignite another reaction that may not be tolerable by government, where we have the security forces overstretched and communities are under constant attacks. And some of these attackers are known to the community because, like I said, some of them share common historical antecedents. And if we see that you are coming continually to attack me and no help is coming from anywhere, I may be forced to resort to self-help. That is what I was trying to explain earlier on. We are not trying to buy into taking law into our hands. But sometimes you will have no choice. Just as it's often said that people should defend themselves. People must learn to defend themselves because evil seems to be taking over the society. Now, if you sit and wait for government, the troops that are on ground might not be able to cover the crisis that is happening maybe somewhere in the north central, maybe in the northeast, and all that. And every day, these people are coming onto you. Will you just sit and watch them?
Have we had, excuse me, an official reaction from the Nigerian state on this matter?
So far, we've not had. When I raised the matter yesterday, we've not had any formal reaction or response from the executive arm of government. But I believe they are on it and they should be doing something about it.
Do you intend to pursue it, well, I say behind the scenes?
Oh, certainly I will do both from behind the scene and even
In front of
overtly.
the scenes.
Yes.
Well, what sort of resolution would you be looking to see for these communities? Because you are aware of the challenges that Nigeria faces with protecting its own border communities. So what sort of reaction would you be looking to see, especially if the end goal is to prevent the loss of lives and property?
Well, first and foremost, I will expect that the emergency establishment should reach out to this community and provide relief materials for those who are victims, number one. And then number two, to explore means of providing security for this community where it is possible. But flowing from the challenges we're having now, if it is not possible, government should liaise with this community to raise a vigilante group that will have the backing of the security officials so that they'll be able to defend themselves because they are very, very vulnerable. These are attackers who are familiar with the community. You know, they speak the same language. They also have informant. So if we don't handle it from this perspective, it may get to a level where they will come into Nigeria and be operating, just as the bandits are coming to be operating in Niger, in Niger State, and all over in Zamfara State. Most of them are also not Nigerians. Remember, Nigerians, Chadians are there among these bandits. So let us not be surrounded by these hoodlums before they will take over our nation. It's quite worrisome, actually. The dimension, is becoming unprecedented.
Well, we'll wait to see what the reaction of the Nigerian state will be to this and how they eventually decide to handle this. But looking at the attack itself, the fact that a community leader was killed in the process, if the people who, carried out the attack are people who are familiar with that village and that environment, and they decided to kill the leader, even though we're not sure what their motive is, it doesn't look like whatever it was that they had in mind was good.
You know, if you want to destroy the sheep, you strike the shepherd. If the traditional ruler is killed, the other people become defenseless, just as it is in every country. The head of the country becomes the commander-in-chief. The same thing goes with a community. The village head remains the commander-in-chief. If he's killed, others become so vulnerable. So we may not know, like you say, but we must not sit and watch before the matter becomes unbearable. As we are speaking now, I know there are entreaties from our communities to reach out to them. Our people, I'm talking from Southern Taraba, the community leaders, the opinion leaders, and other traditional rulers are working hard to reach out to these people, calming them and say, we are awaiting government to see what they will do. So we trust God that at the fullness of time, sufficient arrangement will be made to ensure that this is not repeated.
Well, let me quickly throw this to my colleagues in Lagos now, because I understand that we might have another guest. Gentlemen.
Well, yes, we do, Malkwe. We have Adam Sabo, who is a former Assistant Director, Internal Security of the SSS. He's a fellow, International Institute of Professional Security, and he's also a security and intelligence consultant. He joins us virtually from Kogi. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mr. Abu. Well, this attack on Taraba is definitely troubling. For you, what most stands out? There are those who are pointing to the lapses at the border control and all of that. For you, what stands out the most about this?
I think the attack did not come. I mean, it does not come as a kind of a surprise to me, because before this attack, you know that this separatist group has been operating along that border. In fact, I think in 2018, some of them were arrested in Nigeria and handed over to the government of Cameroon. And even the Cameroon gendarme, times past, has also made some incursions into our country to arrest them. And so it is not something that has come to us as
Oh dear. We certainly hope we'll be able to get him back to. But it is, first of all, it is surprising that as far as he's concerned, it is not something that is happening surprisingly. That means then that there's been some information about this, that this whole thing wasn't new to security officials. Another troubling thing about this is that not too far from that environment, according to the senator, in Takum, there is a military base there. So, okay, well, you're welcome back. Please go ahead, Mr. Abu.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the military base there, I don't think they have so far been found wanting. I think they have never had that kind of experience before. And now that it has happened, the best thing is for us to be sure that we face the situation squarely. It is not only the military this time around. I think the NIA in Cameroon should also infiltrate into that organization to know what is their plans concerning Nigeria. But what I want to say specifically is that when it has started like this, we better act fast, because what gave birth to Boko Haram was the incursion of some of these neighboring rebels, neighboring countries' rebels into our country. And it's from there our own boys picked up and then developed to what it is today as Boko Haram. So the earlier all the government agencies get
New
to deal with
occurrence. This is not something that is happening for the first time. If you listen to the senator, he said this is not the first time that this is happening. And so when you say that the military hasn't, the military base there haven't had this kind of attack, before, I'm wondering what you mean. According to the senator, it's not the first time. The communities, indigents, residents in the community say it's something that's happened before.
Okay, you see, what I want us to understand is the military that has been there, they are not there only for the operations of that particular community alone. They are there for other assignments. You'll be surprised that they are in other flashpoints across this country where we have crisis. But now that it has escalated to the level it is, the military and other security forces need to put attention. And of course, we will have to intensify our intelligence effort. And that's why I talk about the NIA in Cameroon.
Well, we seem to be having problems with that particular.
Goodness.
There, and I do not know if you share them, do you?
Well, the fears have been there. The occurrence of this, like I said, is repeating itself after what we see in Bakassi, in the areas of Calabar, and then another region in Baissa, a Bong area. This particular area is actually the first experience in Manga area of Takum local government. The military base that I identified being there had actually, in fairness to them, been proactive in tackling internal crisis. For this being an external aggression, we are expecting that they should be there as we are speaking now. This is my belief.
Do you fear that, if this is not properly handled, he mentioned the fact that Boko Haram started in this manner, that we could see this evolving into something I would not understand?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. If it is not named on the board, it may plummet, it may degenerate. And this is what we don't want. The earlier, the better. If the security operatives, the security forces moved into the scene and demonstrate proactiveness, that would be very, very fantastic. Otherwise, we might not be able to contain it.
Well, we certainly and sincerely hope that things do not get out of hand, and that we'll be hearing from the executive arm of government. And we'll also be keeping tabs with you to find out how much progress you're making with regards to also getting a comprehensive response from the executive arm of government. We have to thank you this morning. Senator Emmanuel Bwacha is a deputy minority leader at the Senate, representing Southern Zone of Taraba State. Thank you for coming on Sunrise Day.
Thank you very much for having me, Maupe.
Well, we also thank our other guest, Mr. Adam Sabo, who is a former Assistant Director, Internal Security at the DSS and also a Fellow of the International Institute of Professional Security. Thank you so much, Mr. Abu. We're so sorry that connections are giving us some challenge, but we hope to hear from you very soon.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Let's take a look at some of the mails that we have received so far. Famous Timile is writing about the Taraba attack, and he says, when we don't take our security and citizens seriously, other countries will ride on us. Until we're serious with ourselves, that is when other countries will take us seriously and respect us as a country. The issue is that this is not exactly Cameroon versus Nigeria. This is separatists. So it becomes a little more tricky, but that's Timile his takeaway.
Well, this one comes through from Don, talking about the NSAS panel outcome. It is pertinent to note that the NSAS panel of judicial inquiry set up by the Lagos State government has done noble and should be congratulated. I crave the indulgence of the government to implement the recommendations of the report. Gone are the days people get away with impunity. The families that lost their loved ones should be adequately compensated. Those who are guilty should face the law so as to serve as lessons to others.
This one by Henry Okeke. The perspectives on human rights must change. Both leaders and the followers have a constitutional duty to protect and defend human rights in Nigeria. Implementation of the various NSAS panels outcome is everything. The world is watching. Nobody stays in power forever, so the outcome you failed to implement while in power can work against you when you're out of office. Food for thought.
But Dare Shorunke has this. Lagos State government deserves commendation for giving the panel the freedom to reach its findings. We're looking forward to the report of that of Abuja and other states of the Federation.
And then you see Louis Safalabi says, I want to commend the panel for the boldness and forthrightness of the panel to deal with the complaints brought before it. My prayer is that the White Paper Committee set up to consider the report for implementation will not end up as a white elephant project the way others before them ended up. We are all watching.
And we are counting down.
Yeah, we are. So there you go. Yes. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying we certainly are counting down, and we certainly will keep the numbers on the screen for all to continue to see. Yeah, that's it. 12 days to the release of the white paper. Just to let the authorities know that we are expecting the report of the White Paper Committee, and so are Nigerians. Thank you very much for watching this morning. I'm Maokwe Ogunyusuf.
Wonderful day and stay safe. I'm Ayo Makinde.
I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.